Welcome to the inaugural podcast episode of the Money Master HQ show, where we deep dive into the psychology of money, unraveling the secrets to mastering your finances and transforming your life. I'm your host, Shihan Sheriff, an advocate for financial literacy and personal development. If you have been following me, or if you've read any of my books, you would already be aware that I have been significantly influenced and inspired by the teachings of the world famous inspirational speaker Tony Robbins. Today, we're embarking on this journey together to explore the power of mindset, something that's really important when we talk about mastering money, as well as the resilience and strategic growth, with a very special guest whom I'm honored to have here today, someone who has not only walked the fire literally, but also who has helped thousands to cross their metaphorical fires. So let's introduce our speaker today, who is none other than Dave Albin, who by introduction is a man whose life story reads like an epic journey of triumph over adversity. With over 3 decades in the personal development industry, Dave's experiences range from the intense, life-changing firewalks with Tony Robbins, where he served for more than 19 years, to founding Firewalk Productions, a company that has revolutionized team building and personal growth for CEOs, entrepreneurs, as well as Fortune 500 companies. So some of the best included there. Dave's journey from battling addiction to becoming the #1 firewalk instructor in America is nothing short of inspirational. His work has not only set world records, but has also set countless individuals on the path to their own personal as well as professional breakthroughs. Dave, it's an absolute honor to have you with us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, John. Thank you. That was quite a mouthful, man. It's great. Yeah, seriously. I'm really honored. I know this is your inaugural show. And so, yeah, it's very humbling and I'm very excited to be here. So thanks for having me.
Likewise, it's my pleasure. So Dave, let's start off with a few questions. Let's start off with your journey to becoming the leading firewalk instructor in the US, which is both fascinating and inspiring, like I said at the introduction. So can you share with us some of the pivotal moments that set you on this path?
Yeah, sure. Happy to do that. Well, it started, my life was on a pretty painful path there for quite some time, though I lucked out early in life. I was born to a single mom. My biological father had committed suicide a couple of months before I was born because he had traumatized his head and they put a plate in his head and there was a lot of pain associated with it. And so one day he told mom he was going to the grocery store and we never saw or heard from him again. So mom was pretty sure that he took his own life. So when I was born to a single mom. She already had 2 boys. She was living in a 1-bedroom apartment with her mother, my grandmother, and another cousin. So there were 6 of us. And mom was working as a server up the street at the Roosevelt Hotel in Hollywood. So she couldn't make it. You can't feed 6 people on 1 income like that. So when I was 5 years old, she went to her oldest sister and said, "Hey, Pat, will you adopt David? I can't feed him." And they said, "Absolutely." And they did. So I lucked out there. I was adopted. I moved from Hollywood to Long Beach, and everything was wonderful until the first day of summer, 1964. I'm 11 years old, and they set me down that morning and said, "David, we need to tell you something." And what they proceeded to tell me was, "We're not your parents." Okay, so at 11 years old, that's quite a bit to take on. What does that even mean? How can you even process something? Of course, you're my parents. And so, when I found that out, it changed the course of my life. Shortly after they told me this, both of them started drinking alcohol. And so things got worse. And by the time I was a junior in high school, I wasn't doing well. They kicked me out of high school. I was very dangerous. And as my life started to unfold, I was always influenced by drugs and alcohol. And then it all changed on June 8th, 1988. I was in my 3rd marriage. I was married to a woman who was a bartender. She had 3 kids. They were my stepkids. I loved the family dearly. They were great kids. But when I woke up that morning, I was living in the basement and the rest of the family was living upstairs. And rightfully so. They didn't want to be around me. I wasn't a very nice person. I mean, I just wasn't. And when I woke up that morning, I knew that something had to change. And I was not going to go into another day with that much emotional and physical pain from the drugs and alcohol. And after considering taking my own life for most of the morning, I ended up not doing that, obviously. And what stopped me was I knew that if I did that, that the 3 kids and their mother, it would destroy their life. And I'm like, you can't do that. That's not right. They don't deserve that. This is on you, pal. You got to figure out what's wrong with you and deal with it on a level that, is not going to have you take your own life. And so I ended up calling an organization here in America. It's called Alcoholics Anonymous. They are global. And basically, they're a group of other alcoholics who help other alcoholics achieve sobriety. And so I called them and I went to my first meeting that day on June 8, 1988. And Shihan, I've never had a drink or a drug since. So that was, as of last year, it was 35 years of sobriety. So the reason I touch on that is when I got sober, I was up late at night all the time and I had insomnia. And one night there I was in 1988, there he is, a young Tony Robbins, man, he was selling on an infomercial, a program called Personal Power. And he was young and he was enthusiastic and he was vibrant and he was all this stuff. And honestly, I couldn't stand him. I thought he was a pompous jerk. However, he said a couple of things that got me to listen to more of what he was talking about. The one thing he said that really got me was, a human will do more to avoid pain than we will to gain pleasure. And I thought, wow, you nailed me, dude, because that's why I was drinking and drugging. I was either trying to run from pain or I was trying to chase some pleasure. So that made a lot of sense to me. And then the other thing he said was, what really got me, he says, how do human beings make decisions? And how they make decisions is one of 2 ways. They're either motivated out of inspiration or desperation. And I went, wow, okay, I'm pretty desperate. Maybe I should listen to this guy. And I bought his program. And remember, this is in 1988. So, it was a 30-day program. So they sent it in a big box. And it came on these little white things called cassette tapes. And that's how it came. And I plugged it in and I did what the man told me to do. Well, many years later, in 1995, I found out that Tony Robbins was coming to town for a live event. And between a friend of mine, he wanted me to go. I agreed. And he went and made all the arrangements. Well, he called me back like an hour later and said, done. We pick up the tickets at will call. And here's what they told us to do. Number 1, drink a lot of water. Make sure you stay hydrated through this 4-day event. Also, bring snacks. You're going to spend a lot of time in the room. Now, I see you smiling. You know how ridiculous that is, right? If you go to a Tony Robbins seminar, whether it's live or virtual, you're going to spend a lot of time in the room. So I learned that one on my first event. Right. And then he said, be ready to play full out and bring a good attitude. Well, I then found out that the ticket was $695. This is in 1995. So I'm like, what's that worth today? I don't know, like 1.2 million or something crazy, right? You're the finance guy, right? Buy Bitcoin. And just as he got ready to get off the phone, my buddy Dan's telling me, right? He goes, oh, wait, by the way, I got to tell you something, man. I almost left out the most important part. We're going to be doing a firewalk. and my brain went, no, we're not. Absolutely not. We are not going to do a firewalk. Now, I'm not saying this to my buddy Dan. It's just going off in my head because and you know what's funny about it, Sean? I didn't even know what firewalk meant. I had no references for that. I didn't know literally you were going to walk on hot coals. I didn't know what that meant. But fire and walk in the same sentence didn't sound like anything that I wanted to do. And most of my life up until that point was all influenced by fear. And so I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. Well, but I didn't say that to Dan, right? Well, the big day comes and we get there. We're in our seats. We're with 3,500 people at this event. This is in 1995. Tony took the stage at 2:00 in the afternoon. Well, the next thing I know, it's after midnight. We've been in a room with Tony Robbins for 10 hours, and he's basically getting you ready for this firewalk. Well, the next thing I hear, Tony says, take your shoes off. And I'm like, oh, no. I know where you're going with that, pal. You're not going to trick me into this firewalk thing. I'm not doing it. Well, I got a problem. My buddy I'm with, guess what he's doing? He's taking his shoes off. 3,500 other people, they're taking their shoes off. So what am I going to do? Not take my shoes off? And then everybody's going to know that I'm a coward? No, we can't do that. So now I'm figuring out, I'm negotiating with myself. What are you going to do? And so I just kind of like, okay, just calm down, take your shoes off. And when you go out there, what Tony does is he takes you out into this big parking lot where the Firewalk is. I said to myself, just lose Dan and go hide in the back. Well, as he's getting you ready to go out there, he gets everybody to start clapping and chanting. So now you got 3,500 people going, yes, yes, walking out there into this big parking lot. Well, it gets worse. He's got African drummers. So when you get out there, you can feel the beat and the vibration. It's dun, 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 dun. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what have you got yourself into? And so, my plan is I lost my buddy, and I did. I said, I'm going to go hide in the back. And I did. 3,500 people. It's easy to get lost, and I'm in the back. Well, Tony Robbins, why did Tony bring firewalking into his events? Well, he knows. He knew. He did his research. He knew that a firewalk was literally probably the most life-changing experience that any human will ever go through. There's a huge paradigm shift when you go through the experience. Absolutely. He also knows that if you don't, you're going to miss out. He also knows it's going to be people like me who hide in the back. So what's he do? He trains people to come find you. I'm like, really? You got to be kidding me. Because literally, man, Shihan, I'm back there by myself, right? I'm minding my own business. And here comes this guy. And he sees me and he's walking right at me and he makes eye contact with me and he wouldn't take his eyes off me. And he got about 20 feet from me and he said, he was kind of looking at me, funny, like there's something wrong with me, right? He goes, hey man, are you okay? And of course, when we're not okay, what do we say? I'm fine. I'm good. No problem here. Nothing to see. Move along, pal. And he goes right for it. He immediately asked me after that, he said, hey, so are you going to walk tonight? And I abruptly jumped him. I'm like, absolutely not. Like, duh, what do you think I'm hiding in the back for, pal? Are you kidding me? And so here's this guy. He's a perfect stranger, by the way. I don't know who it is to this day. Without him, I wouldn't have firewalked tens of thousands of people over my career. I wouldn't be on your podcast right now if it wasn't for him. And again, I don't know who this guy is, but he asked me one question that literally changed my life forever. And the question was, wouldn't you at least like to watch? Because I told him I'm not going to do it. So he just asked me very nicely, hey, well, wouldn't you at least like to watch? And I'm thinking, well, yeah, why not? No harm in that. Yeah, let's go watch these people burn their feet off. This will be entertaining. And so he goes, well, listen, man, you can't see anything from way back here. And he's telling the truth. I've got 3,500 people standing in front of me. I can't see anything. I can hear it. There's a giant fire over here in the corner that they built about the time Tony went on stage. It's been burning all day. And they just throw wood after cords of wood on it all day. Just like this huge pit. It's probably 35 feet wide, maybe 70 feet long. And after 10 hours of burning, it renders. And what I mean is there's this big, giant, beautiful pile of blue coals. So what they do logistically to firewalk 3,500 people, they take the wheelbarrows over to that pit. They load the coals in a wheelbarrow. They bring the wheelbarrow back in between two lanes of sod, of grass. And that sod is like 3 feet wide, maybe 18 feet long. And so what they do, they just take the shovel, a flathead shovel, and they sprinkle the coals on top of that grass and beat it down. And that's what you walk on. It's called a fire lane. So again, I'm in the back. He convinced me to get in line, so I did. So now I'm kind of walking along. Again, I got 3,000 people in front of me. I can't see a darn thing. Again, I can hear it. People are chanting, they're clapping, their drums are going. People are already firewalking and they're screaming and yelling with exhilaration. As soon as they firewalk, they're celebrating. They're jumping up and down. They're going nuts. And so I'm just kind of going along. Well, another stranger comes up to me and he whispers in my ear. He says, he knows when you're ready. When he says go, you go. and pooh, this guy just disappeared into the night. And I'm like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? He knows when you're ready. When he says go, do you go? What does that mean? So, so now I'm kind of walking along, and I get to a place where I've still got 1,000 people in front of me. I can't see anything, but I get to a point where I can see at an angle, because there's like 25 lanes, right? So you get to where you can see down to the right, right? And they're doing it. Shihan, every age, every creed, every color of person, they're all firewalking. And I'm thinking to myself, what's wrong with these people? We're mammals. We're taught to run from fire, not walk on it, for crying out loud, right?
Yeah.
And so as I'm moving along, the next thing I know, I'm not looking where I am in front of me, and I'm looking over here, and boom, there I am. I'm at the front of the line. So I'm at the front of the line, and I'm looking down, and the coals are bright red. I mean, they are glowing bright red. So there's no question if they're hot. I've also, the wheelbarrow's there, right? So you can literally feel the heat coming off. It's intense. And so as I'm staring into the abyss, there's a trainer standing there. And all of a sudden the trainer goes, eyes up. And so I bring my eyes up, right? Well, when I'm in the room with Tony for 10 hours, guess what he teaches you to do? Keep your eyes up. Don't stare at what you fear. Look to the celebration end. That's where the reward is. That's what you want to focus on.
Correct.
And so now my eyes are up, and the trainer goes, squeeze your fist and say yes. And I went, yes. And he went, stronger. And I went, yes. Well, he could tell I was not in a peak state. I was close, but I wasn't quite there. And so he screamed at me again, stronger. And so, I threw my hands in the air and I screamed yes. And he goes, go, go, go. Boom. I took off. Well, remember the guy? He said, he knows when you're ready. When he says go, you go. I did. Well, Tony positions two guys at the end of the fire lane to stop you and catch you. And they're like, stop, wipe your feet and celebrate. And so I'm wiping my feet and I'm celebrating. And all of a sudden I look back in total disbelief, and I just walked on coals that were 1,000 degrees. And I don't have a clue how I did it, but I did it. And I was successful at it. And I didn't burn myself. And so
how did it feel
in that moment, what's that?
How did it feel no sooner you went?
I mean, you can feel, it's hot. They're hot. You can feel it. There's almost a sensation where you think you're burning yourself, but you're not.
Okay.
I didn't burn myself. Not a bit. Not one, not even a little blister, nothing. Wow. And so in that moment, it's exhilarating. You think you can do anything. It's like, okay, where's the bus? Come on, people, let's go. Let's go climb Mount Everest.
Absolutely. I think that would have increased your confidence from there on.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. And what's great is it's collective, meaning that your self-worth, your self-confidence, and your self-belief all rise at the same time with everybody else. So your vibration is raised together, 3,500 people. And that's exactly why Tony uses the firewalks in his events. But here's where it gets really interesting. The next day, remember, this is a 4-day event. That was day one. That night, we're in day two. We're all standing in the foyer, 3,500 of us, getting ready to go into the venue. And I'm watching all the people communicate with each other. And it was beautiful. People are laughing. Some of them are literally crying. They're hugging. They're touching each other. They're communicating humanistically, unlike anything I'd ever witnessed. It was beautiful. And to be part of it, right in the middle of it. And I'm like, so did we drink the Kool-Aid last night? We sure did. Well, later on in the event, I met one of Tony's trainers. Great guy, Ted Macy, and his wife, Mary, both trainers for Tony at the time. And I'm just talking to Ted, super nice guy. And I said, so Ted, what's it like to be in this environment on a regular basis? He goes, oh my gosh. He goes, it's incredible. And if you want to come into this environment, let me share something with you. He said, see all those people standing over there with the black shirts and the pink writing on the back? I'm like, yeah. He goes, dude, those are volunteers. They're people just like you. So if you want to come back and give back, then when you go home, call Robbins, tell them you want a volunteer crew application. They'll send you one. And who knows, maybe you'll get selected. That's exactly what I did. And I filled it out, sent it back. And like 9 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail and it said, Dave Albin, congratulations. You've been selected to crew with the Anthony Robbins Company.
Wow.
Boop, just like that, I'm in the door. So I crewed a few times as a volunteer. And, you know, when you fill out the application, you give them quite a bit of information so they can see who they're dealing with. Well, number one, I had a military background and I had a security background. So they immediately looked at me and said, well, wow, we could put Dave on the security detail and he could help take care of Tony's celebrities, which they did. He also lives on a farm. So he knows what a log splitter is. He knows what a hatchet is. He knows how to split wood. He knows about hardwood. He knows about all that stuff. Let's put him on the fire building team for the Firewalk as well. And they did. So they ended up hiring me as a subcontractor in 95, 96, somewhere in that ballpark. And just to kind of move this forward, in 2003, Tony offered me the fire captain position. And what that meant is that I would be in charge of all of Tony's firewalks globally. And Robbins even paid to have my kids. I was homeschooling at the time. And so he even paid for my family to go on the road with me full time. In fact, our first event with the kids was in Sydney, Australia. So obviously it was a magical time, a magical moment in my life. That happened in 2003. 2005, we went to London. We set the world record. We firewalked 12,300 people. It's the biggest firewalk that's ever been done in the world. Now, I do want to disclose Guinness Book of World Record was not there. However, it's still the biggest firewalk. And the only thing that's ever come close, Shihan, is another Tony Robbins seminar. So that was in 2005. And then to move this forward in 2014, I'm driving down the road. My phone rings. It's Google. And they're calling me to ask me, are you the Dave Albin that does the firewalks for Tony Robbins? Yes, I am. Why? Well, if you're not under any contractual obligation or non-compete, we'd like to talk to you about hiring you. Oh, okay. Well, homeboy's a free agent. What you got? And the next thing I know, I'm being hired by Google. And that's when the light bulb went off. That's when, after having a discussion with Google, they said, you may want to start your own business because you're the only guy in America that can create this paradigm shift experience. And you're at the top of your game. Corporate America will be all over you. They'll hire you at every level. So, up to you, do what you want, but you may want to consider about starting your own business. And I was like, well, maybe I should listen to these guys. This is Google telling me to start my own business because there's a huge marketplace for me. I mean, duh, right? So I did. So we started Firewalk Productions in 2014, and they were right because shortly after I was at Google, I went to NASA. Then I went to Notre Dame. Then I went to Microsoft, and then Heineken, Remax, Chick-fil-A, the Entrepreneurs Organization. I mean, it just went nuts, all organically. And, the next thing you know, you're on the Money Master HQ show, right? So you just never know where it's going to take you. So yeah, since 2014, pun intended, we've been going hot and heavy ever since.
That's an amazing story, Dave. I mean, starting off your life with that difficult journey as a kid, with all that happened to you, and then with this firewalk journey, and then working for Tony Robbins to, what you've achieved so far, it's been an incredible journey. How do you feel with all these achievements in life?
Well, I say all the time, I'm one of the most blessed men on the planet. I have two amazing children, and they have their careers to stay. They have men and women in their lives, their spouses to be. I have two grandkids. So my life is magnificent. I mean, literally magnificent. I still get to do what I'm doing, right? I've got Firewalk Productions, and I get hired all the time by corporate America or private organizations or entrepreneurs or business owners. I was on a podcast here a couple of months ago, and the interviewer asked me, she said, have you ever done a firewalk for veterans? And I said, you mean specifically? And she said, yeah. And I go, no, why? And she goes, well, I have 200 vets, and we'd love to talk to you about helping save their life. In America, veterans, the suicide rate, or at least the number that's out there in the streets, is 22 a day. Well, I found out that's not true. That's only if they leave a note. It's closer to 45 to 50 a day. Men and women are taking their own lives. And so when they told me that, and they wanted to talk to me about creating an event, creating the Firewalk experience to help save their lives, I went, yeah, I'm absolutely interested. Can you give me a couple of days to think about it, to kind of process it in my head? And they said, of course. Well, when I went to bed that night, I woke up in the middle of the night, and the thought that came to me was Operation Do No Harm. And so I also looked at other categories of people, right? So now there's 4 categories that we're moving Operation Do No Harm in the direction of. Number 1 is veterans. Number 2, first responders. There's a high suicide rate amongst firefighters. And that's for the obvious reason, right? Look what those men and women have to do every day. They get dispatched to car accidents, and they have to cut cars open and people, and it's horrible. It's horrendous. And they do it every single day. Not to mention there's a fire, and when everybody else is running out, they're running in. So when they retire, they kind of lose their purpose. And when depression sets in, same thing with veterans, right? They get deployed. They're over there in war. It's horrible. They come home. They lose the connection with the other men and women they're over there with. Same thing. Their purpose drops. Depression sets in. Next thing you know, we're losing them. Well, the other 2 categories are single moms, which I was born to a single mom, and kids that have been abused and been neglected. So now what we're doing is we're going out to corporate America, and we're saying, how would you like your brand to look amazing? Well, you hire Firewalk Productions through Operation Do No Harm, and we'll come facilitate the Firewalk experience for one of those categories. We'll do all the work. We'll do all the heavy lifting, and your brand will get all the recognition. So we've already got our first one scheduled. Very, very grateful this is already happening. And we've got some really incredible corporate sponsors that are coming to watch and be part of it and help us. It's going to be in a place called Modesto, California, which is right in the middle of the state of California. And it's going to be April 12th and the 13th. So we're splitting it up over 2 days. And we're actually opening it up to both first responders and veterans. So we're really, 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 when you ask me, how does that make me feel today? It's like, wow, look what I get to do. I'm 70, and I don't know how much time I'm got left to keep doing this. As of right now, I've got the strength, the willingness, and certainly the drive to go out here and save as many lives in those 4 categories, Shihan, that I possibly can. Because I do know, and I've seen it with my own eyes, I've walked tens of thousands of people. And I know this is a life-changing, life-saving experience. So I'm going to go out there and, let corporate America hire us, and we'll come make their brand look really good. And we'll keep doing it as long as I can keep doing it.
That's great, Dave. I mean, that's an incredible inspirational story for anyone, like, giving it your all despite, thinking of your age, your experience.
Thank you.
And a lot of people could benefit from this. Yes, absolutely. You're serving, humanity. So thanks for all that you're doing and giving back to society. So just coming back to, that Firewalk experience that you had and, the confidence that you gained by just doing that exercise of firewalking, which you were initially hesitant, reluctant, and fearful, giving that confidence, changed a lot of things in your life, isn't it? So if you think about mastering your money, whether it's business or finance, business or personal rather, in order to do that, it all starts with your mindset and confidence. So Tony always talks about, change your state and change your story. So what would you advise people in terms of changing their state, and how do you place an importance on that before doing anything?
Wow. Super, super powerful question. Well, one of the things I say all the time about money is, they say money doesn't buy happiness. Well, it does rank right up there with oxygen, though, in terms of what you need. I think a lot of us, when we're growing up, we're told limiting beliefs about money. Like, for example, my parents used to say, money doesn't grow on trees. Well, actually it does. It actually does grow on trees. Where do you think apples come from and peaches come from? And you know, I live in North Carolina, and the county I live in, we grow more Christmas trees here than any other county in America. Now, Oregon grows the most Christmas trees statewide, but our county grows more Christmas trees than any other county in America. And that's a tree, and that's money, because that industry in my area is huge. Every year, all the trucks come up here, pick up all the Christmas trees and drive them down the mountain and sell them in Charlotte and Raleigh and Greensboro and, you know, the surrounding areas from where I live. So I think for me, you know, when I was young, I had an interesting belief system about money that I'd love to share with your audience. And that was, I believed that there's money out there, go get it. And that came because at a young age, I had a paper route. So when I was like 11 years old, I had a place where I would go pick up my papers. I would put them in saddlebags, put rubber bands around them, put them on my bike, and I would go and deliver, and I would throw those papers, you know, up onto the porch of all my customers. And it was a 7-day-a-week job. And then you had to collect the money back then. When new people moved into the neighborhood, you had to go knock on their door. So, you know, there I was at 11 years old making money as a paper boy. I grew up across the street from a golf course. And here's what I learned about golfers. They kind of suck. They're not really good at it, right? I think I read sometime that over 90% of the golfers in America shoot over 100. Ask Tony Robbins. He's not the best at it. So what I found was when I was a kid, I could ride my bike to the golf course and ride my bike around the perimeter. And then there were certain locations where they would hit the balls over the fence, and I'd go collect them, and I'd take them home and clean them and wash them off and get them, you know, nice and white again. And then I would go back to the golf course, and in the trash can, the boxes that the new balls would come in, they threw them out. And I would take the balls I found, put them in these boxes, go back to the parking lot, and you probably see what's coming here. I'd sell them back to the golfers. I'm doing that at 11 and 12 years old. My mother grew beautiful flowers in the backyard, and she would put them together in bouquets, put them in a bucket, and I'd go out on the street corner and sell them. So at a very young age, I learned there's money out there, go get it. And of course, as you know, as a financial master, it's not so much sometimes how much you make, it's how you handle it. You know, and I learned once I got sober, you know, I learned to stop buying things that I didn't need with money I didn't have to try to impress people that I didn't know. So, you know, this is one of the areas of life that a lot of people need help with. They need someone to help them with their finances and their accounting and their bookkeeping and all these kinds of things, especially in America, because, you know, we have a tax program here that if you understand it and you deal with it the right way, you can do really, really well. If you don't understand it, you won't do so well. And so, you know, it's just like anything else, Shihan. I think it all comes down to one thing. I learned a long time ago the two most important times in someone's life is the moment they're born and the moment they figure out why. I learned a long time ago that money comes and money goes. And again, for me, it's not how much you make, it's how much you earn and how much you keep. Because once you learned that money will make money for you and how to invest it and how to do it right, you know, because success leaves clues. If you want to learn how to deal with your money and deal with it at a high level, then guess what they need to do? They need to hire you. They need to come to you so that you can show them and teach them how to do these things. Because, you know, there's nothing worse than money problems. You know, it's bad. And I think a lot of people go through it. And a lot of it, again, I think is influenced by their parents and influenced by the people around them. But man, once you get to a point where you understand and you can get yourself in a position where you can make money while you sleep, and or you learn how to make money work for you rather than you working for it, that's a huge, huge life-changing mindset. And so, you know, I have the greatest respect for you and your show, because look what you're talking about here. Money mastery. Whoa. Okay. It's absolutely phenomenal. So kudos to you for your podcast and what you're doing here and how you're helping people. Because again, there's nothing worse than living life where you have extreme money problems.
My pleasure, Dave. So thank you for all those valuable tips. I think for those who are having issues with money and stuff, having that mindset is paramount, and that's the starting point. Coming back to something that you mentioned previously, Dave, in terms of being addicted to certain things, different people have different addictions, right? Whether it's
Yes.
alcohol or whether it's drugs or whether it's various different addictions which harm you in the long term. What would your
Yes.
advice be for somebody who's addicted to something, and how could they come out of it? I mean, in terms of your experience with dealing with some of those things, what would you share?
Ask for help. It's one of the highest forms of intelligence that any human can do. And it's also one of the most challenging, because, like if I was, so here I am, I'm a drug addict, alcoholic, and I'm thinking, maybe I should call Shihan. He's in AA, and he's turned his life around, and he's sober, and but then you go through that, yeah, but he's really busy, he's on his podcast, he's got a family. So we start coming up with all these reasons that we're like interfering, if you will, in their life, and that's not true. I learned early on in AA, one of the greatest things I learned in AA was what's called the preamble. And it says, when anyone anywhere reaches out, I want the hand of AA to be there. And for that, I'm responsible. When I went to my first meetings on June 8th, 1988, I went to 4 meetings that day. And I've never been treated with the love and kindness anywhere else in my entire life. Because the only 2 places I ever felt at home was some crappy little bar somewhere or an AA meeting. And I went to an all men's group, and they loved me until I could love myself. And I learned it was totally okay to ask for help. In fact, it's really important, because the bottom line is that when I help another alcoholic achieve sobriety, how it makes me feel is off the chart. Because when someone new walks through that door needing help, I know that their life's on the line. This is not some game. This isn't the Qantas Club where, this is life or death. And so whatever your addiction is, just recognize it, because that's the first step. You got to admit that you got a problem and it's unmanageable. And it doesn't matter whether it's drugs or alcohol or gambling or pornography or your gluttony or bad spending habits, whatever it is, recognize it. Once you do that, now you're capable of asking and receiving help. And once you get to that point, that's the spot you want to get yourself to. And just don't think that that person doesn't want to help you. They do. They absolutely do, because again, it makes them feel phenomenal. Here's the other part of it. If you want to keep it, you got to give it away. That's one of the fundamentals of Alcoholics Anonymous. My job is to stay sober and help another alcoholic achieve sobriety. That's my creed. That's my oath, if you will, that I took with myself. And so again, when you ask for help, you're helping yourself, absolutely, but you're also helping that other person stay free and clear of that same addiction. Hope that made sense.
Absolutely, yes. Asking for help is something that people are reluctant to do. I have no idea why, but people think twice before asking for help. And like you correctly said, yes, if you need help, you need to ask for it. And if you don't ask for it, you don't get it. So yeah, it's as simple as that, but people just make it too complicated. And, that tends to ruin their life as well, having not asked for help in the first place.
I think the illusion is that I'm interfering in someone else's life by asking for help. And it's not true. It's the polar opposite. Because again, I put myself out there all the time. When I do my seminars, I let everybody know that I'm a recovering alcoholic and a drug addict, and I understand it. And so if you have somebody in your life, whether it's you or, a neighbor, friend, relative, whatever, if you need help with that, I'm in. I'm telling you right now, please come, let me help you, because it helps me stay sober. And that's really the key. And again, it comes back to what I said earlier. If you want to keep it, you got to give it away. Because when much is given, much is received, much is received, much is given. One of my mentors said something to me one time, and it kind of relates to what we're talking about here. And what he said to me, he said, Dave, here's something you need to know. Every human has two lives. And the second one starts when you realize you have only one. And so again, it's so rewarding to create, because it creates purpose too, right? I think Viktor Frankl gave us the one of the greatest examples of how life works, even at a really, really horrible level. Viktor wrote the book, Man's Search for Meaning. And Viktor was in Auschwitz, right? So he was captured by the Nazis and sent to the concentration camp. And, once you got to Auschwitz, that's where they put you in a chamber and you died with, the other Jewish people. And so what Viktor figured out, he said, when you're there, they take everything from you. They took everything from him. They killed his family. You don't have clothes. You don't have food. You're standing outside in a yard with razor wire. It's cold. And every single day of your life, you think this could be the end. Is it your day to go to the chamber? And so imagine getting up every morning, day after day after day, thinking this could be your last day. We jokingly sometimes say, so what would you do if today was your last day, right? Well, that was a reality for him. And again, so they took everything from him, your dignity, all of that. But Viktor figured out, he said, there's one thing you can't take from me, and that is I have to let you take it. I have to relinquish it. And that's my attitude. And so what Viktor came from that was, and how he lived, how he got himself out was, he said, someone needs to tell this story. And so that created purpose. And that intention, that mindset, as you talked about, got him out of Auschwitz so he could come and tell the story of that horrible situation. So, I say all the time, you want to change your life, change your story. I was talking on another podcast yesterday, and we got into the same conversation. And here's what I know and what I've learned over the years of being in the personal development industry for over almost 4 decades. No matter what happens to you, I don't care what it is, whether it's really good, something in the middle, or something really bad, we create a story about that event. And so we can create a really good and empowering story, or we can create a victimhood type story. We get to choose what story we're going to create. So if we create a powerful story, then it creates a powerful life. If we embellish and we play victimhood, then that's going to influence you for the rest of your life. So I say all the time, you want to change your life, change your story. And we're the architect of that story. We get to decide what story we create based on what happens to us.
Absolutely.
Create a good one.
Reminds me of another quote which Brendan Burchard famously quotes most of the time. If you've got to think, might as well think big. So yeah, it's something very similar.
Brendan. Yeah, love him. He's great. Super guy. I've heard him speak. I'm always on cloud 9 after I hear him speak. And you're absolutely right. Yeah. Why not create something good?
Absolutely. Just going back to the period where you worked with Tony, I mean, I really needed to ask this question. So how was it working with Tony Robbins? Is he the same person, who we see at the front end as well as on the back end? Or was that?
I can only answer that question based on the way he treated me and my family.
Absolutely. Yes, that's perfect.
And he loved my kids. He loved them. He loved Dave Jr. He loved Vinny, my daughter. He treated them like gold. He spent time with them. I mean, I literally saw Tony be on stage all weekend one time. He was really tired. His back was hurting him. He was exhausted. And he came off stage and he went back and he grabbed both of my kids and he took them over in the corner and had a long conversation with them. I mean, a long conversation. You know what I mean? Not just a couple of seconds. He spent probably around 10 minutes talking to them. And I just sit there and I said, man, that's the love that he has for me and my kids. he treated me like gold. He treated my family like gold. And I'm forever grateful to him and Sage for the way they treated me and my family. And so from my perspective, yeah, he, off stage, on stage, he's just a big kid. He really is. He's just a fun guy. And, he's just like everyone else. He has the same needs that we all do. And he loves to be treated with love and kindness and respect. And we reciprocate all that. And so again, my life was forever, ever blessed for being in his environment for just a little shy of 20 years. I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have the mindset that I have today. I wouldn't be in a position to change all these people's lives and save all these lives with the vets and the first responders and the moms and the kids without Tony's help. And I need to acknowledge that. And there's been a lot of others as well. When you're in that environment, there's a lot, one of the reasons Tony Robbins is so good at what he does is that he's got an army of people that are really good at what they do, right? So it's a collaboration between all of them. And so when you put a lot of incredible people together, you're probably going to kick out a pretty incredible process.
Well said. So how was it, leaving Tony and the team? It must have not been an easy decision for you to take. It would have been a very difficult decision at the time. So how did you approach taking such a difficult decision? So for those people who are listening, in terms of taking such decisions, how would you approach such a big decision as that, and how did it impact your life afterwards?
Well, listen to your instincts. Listen to your intuition. I knew it was time for me. I had served my purpose. Tony didn't need me anymore. There were a half a dozen people on the team that could do my job. And I told him that. I said, you don't need me anymore, dude. I love you. And we've done some incredible things together over the last 19 plus years, but you don't need me anymore. And I have another calling now. So I needed to go in another direction. I needed to start Firewalk Productions. I needed to go out on my own. I needed to take the firewalking experience and other corporate team building experiences that we offer out to corporate America. Because now, see, it got me to this point. It got me to the point now where, people hired me because they wanted me to come in and create change within their people, right? If there was dissension or launching a new product or whatever it was, right? I'm coming in and creating this incredible, awesome team building experience, right? Well, now it's taken a turn, because now I'm literally going in with the mindset that guy or that woman sitting in that seat out there, they're suicidal. And I need to do something to make sure that they don't take their life, because I've been in that position. I know what that looks like. I know what that feels like. And a lot of times we don't stop and think that if we take our life, we're killing everybody around us, and it's not fair. And that there is a higher calling and there is a higher purpose. It's my job to get them to understand and look at that and revisit why they're there in that moment. Because one of the things I'm going to do in Modesto with the 200 vets that are coming is I'm going to have them take an oath. I'm literally going to tell them, I'm going to teach them about firewalking. It's been around 1,000 years, and I'm going to teach them about the culture and the rite of passage and all these things. But moreoverly, I want them, and at some point I'm going to have them. So for those of you want to do this, I want you to stand up. And when they stand up, I'm going to have them put their hand in the air, and I'm going to have them take an oath, and they're going to have to promise to do no harm. And here's the beauty in that. When people like firefighters and cops and military people take an oath to promise to do something, they'll do it, because it's a code of conduct. They get it. It's what kept them alive. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to give them a medallion. For those of you that are just listening, I'm holding it up. It's a coin, and they give you one in AA. I'm going to have one for the vets. It's going to have Operation Do No Harm on it, and it's a coin, and I'm going to have them put it in their hand, and I'm going to have them squeeze it really hard, and I want them to feel that pain. And that pain is just a little example of the pain that your friends and family will go through if you decide to take your own life. So if you're not feeling good, put your hand in your pocket, grab your coin and squeeze it. The other thing that we're going to do in addition to the oath is we're going to do the board break experience with the firewalk. So it's a martial arts thing. We're going to have them come in. It's real simple. I'm going to have them write something on front of the board they need to move towards, something on back of the board they need to move away from. I'm going to have them write anybody's name on the board that they're in conflict with, right? So if forgiveness or reconciliation is part of that relationship, it ends tonight. You're going to give it to the fire. It's over. It's in the past. And teach them how powerful forgiveness actually is. And then to create the rite of passage, what I'm going to do there, Shihan, is I'm going to have them write anybody's name on the board that they've lost. So if they lost a fellow firefighter, or if they lost someone when they were deployed, at war, whatever it is, I want to create that ancestral type situation as well. And then we'll take them outside. We'll have the board break stations. They'll break the board. We're going to walk them in a circle, and then we're going to firewalk them. And then they're going to come back. They're going to throw the board into the fire, and we'll get that on video, and we'll get pictures of all that. And then I'm going to do one closing thing with them. I'm going to do what I refer to as the Ho'oponopono heart hug. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in a circle, and I'm going to have them look across and say, I want you to find somebody, make eye contact with them, and somebody you don't know. Now go over to that person. So now they're all standing around each other. Everybody's got a partner. And then I'm going to put them in a heart hug. And instead of hugging the way we were accustomed to, I'm going to do it the opposite way. And the reason for that is then both of their hearts are on top of each other. And then I'm going to have them close their eyes, and I'm going to have them take 3 deep diaphragmatic breaths. And typically here's what's going to happen. When they go into or come out of that second breath, guess what automatically happens? Their hearts start beating at the same time. So I'm going to do that like 6 times. And then now I've got the entire group. They did the board. They did the exercises. They broke the board. They firewalked. They put their board into the fire. They took their oath. And now I've got the entire group's heart beating at the same time. So that's basically how we close it down. One of the other things that we give them is, again, I'm holding something up here. The viewers can see it. The audio audience, what it is, it's a container. It's a little plastic container. You can hear that. And that noise are the coals. So we put the coals from various firewalks in a container, and we have a sticker on the front, and it'll say, I firewalked with Operation Do No Harm, April 12th and 13th, 2024. So that way they'll have it, and they can put it on their desk, or, in their room, or on their credenza, or wherever, so that they can look at it and feel fully associated to it every day. One other thing that I did too is I went to my friends over at the Zippo lighter company, right? So if you're going to have a firewalk, you got to light it with something, right? So why not have a Zippo lighter? They're very, very big here in America. So when I told Zippo what I was doing with Operation Do No Harm, I said, are you guys interested? And they said, oh, absolutely. What can we do to help? And I said, help me design a lighter. And so they invited me up to Bradford, Pennsylvania, and we designed a lighter. And the lighter we designed is, back during World War II, Zippo made lighters for our military. And so they actually gave them away for free. And so we're taking the 1941 replica, the exact lighter that the men and women carried in World War II. And I know that they did this because my father carried one. And it's a 1941 replica of that lighter. We're going to powder coat it black, and then it's going to say Operation Do No Harm on it. And then on the back, it's going to have the date of the firewalk. And we're going to give one of those to all the vets and first responders who come to the event. So we're real excited about that. And we're very grateful to the Zippo Lighter Company for helping us with that.
Those are some incredible ways in which you help people, and it also keeps people reminded of the firewalk that they did, or the board that they broke, and just keeps them confident all throughout, right? In the moment you glance at it, it just reminds you of what you've achieved previously and that confidence level. So I think those are some great tips and tricks, Dave. Now, coming back to having a strong mindset. So these are great in terms of the firewalk, the board breaking exercise, and so on. But in terms of a regular basis, how could someone keep their mindset great? Just looking at it on a daily basis, what are some of the great tips and habits that one should inculcate?
Yeah. Wow. Another powerful question. Well, I can share what I do every day. I have my rituals. I treat myself well. The first thing I do, and I'm a big fan of Gary Brecka. Gary's taught me some phenomenal things to do, and it's all free. It doesn't cost anything, which is even better. First thing in the morning when the sun comes up, that first 45 minutes of sunlight is really, really good for your body. It infuses vitamin D into your system, and it's super important. We're supposed to expose ourselves. Our ancestors were always exposing themselves to morning sunlight. The other thing I do at the same time that I'm exposing myself to the light is deep diaphragmatic breathing. And so what I do is I take 30 breaths while I'm exposing my son to the sunlight. I'm taking really deep breaths. It's like, and you breathe really hard and you fill the bottom portion of your lungs with oxygen. And I do 30 breaths. And then when I get to the end, I hold my breath. I do 3 sets of that for a total of 90 breaths. So I'm taking 3 sets, 30 breaths, hold my breath to the end. Hold my breath and until I can't hold it anymore. And then after I do that, I go to the other side of my cabin up here in the mountains, and I do what's called grounding. I do what's called earthing, which is extremely healthy for you. It's very, very important. And that means your bare feet need to touch the earth. And you can be on the grass, it can be sand, it can be mud, whatever, as long as your feet are bare and they're touching Mother Earth, as I like to call her. And I do that for 9 minutes. And when I'm doing that, I'm also doing some other meditative type breathing as well. I also have, I take my phone and I listen to some sound therapy while I'm doing that. After I do that, I come in, I do my meditations, and I hydrate. I have mountain spring water coming into my home. I teach all the time. I learn this from Gary Brecka. Don't drink tap water. It's poison, at least in America. It's not alive. It's not coming out of the ground like it's supposed to from a creek or a lake or a river. And so I have that here in my cabin. I have absolute, mountain spring water. So I hydrate and then I go take my shower. And I take a hot shower to start. And then you probably know this is coming. After that, I do a cold shower, 3 minutes. The temperature of the water coming into my cabin right now is 58 degrees. And that's plenty cold enough because when that water hits me in the face in the morning, this morning, I took my cold shower. I do it every morning. Every time I take a shower, I do it. That water's cold. And it's cold enough to take my breath away. Because when it hits you on the face, you're like, because your body goes into shock, right? Your liver starts releasing proteins that are really good for you, and it destroys inflammation. We know that cold showers are super, super good for you. So I finish with a cold shower. Now, typically, I don't eat until like 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I fast all the way from the night before all the way around to 12, 1 o'clock. Again, fasting, very, very good for you. So all of those things are my rituals. And here's the other thing. Don't negotiate with yourself. If you say you're going to get up in the morning and go work out, do it. Don't go, oh, I'm just going to, I'll just hit the snooze button on my alarm clock. No, don't do that because that's going to chip at you constantly. Then you won't do this and you won't do that. And, well, I don't need to ground today. Or no, I don't need, no, absolutely. Be a person of your word, especially to yourself. Now, you should be a person of your word to anyone else, but you better really be a man or woman of your word to yourself. If you say you're going to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to the gym, do it. Don't go, I'm just going to sleep for another 15 minutes. No, that's not how people who live an extraordinary life live their life. Because, everything we've ever wanted in life is sitting right over there on the other side of your comfort zone. It's not a place you want to live. Comfort doesn't produce extraordinary results. Here's what I've learned. Do the things that are hard in life, and your life will become easier. Do the things that are easy in life, and your life will become hard. Absolutely.
Some golden nuggets there, Dave. I mean, thank you so much for all of this. I know we initially planned this session just for about half an hour, but I'm conscious that we've gone almost to an hour right now. So I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk. Probably we could have you again if you've got some time.
I'd absolutely love that. Of course I will.
Yeah. Just some final thoughts, Dave, and how could people get in touch with you? If you could share your socials as well.
Oh, yeah, sure, of course. The easiest way is just go to one location. That way it's not complicated. Go to firewalkadventures.com. So it's Firewalk Adventures with an S, all one word, firewalkadventures.com. My Facebook connection is there, my LinkedIn, Instagram, all those are right there on my site. My calendar's there if you want to talk to me. I'm very, very accessible. And so that's the best place to start.
And some final thoughts, Dave?
Well, I say, I learned this again from some of my mentors, and that is, life is never as bad as it seems. Life is never as good as it seems. The reality is somewhere in the middle. You're here for a purpose. I said it earlier. The two most important times in your life is the moment you're born and the moment you figure out why. Sometimes that takes a while. You may not learn it overnight or in a week or even in a month. It's taken me a few years to get to a point, but I right now know exactly why I've been put on this planet and why all the things that I went through, all the hardships and all the alcoholism and the drugs and all the stuff that I did when I was out there acting out has primed me, has taught me, and now I'm in a position to be able to save a lot of people's lives. And for that, I'm most grateful. You are too. There's something out there for you where you will serve at a high level, because here's what I know, and I'll close with this. If you help enough people get what they want in life, you'll always get what you want in life. It's a universal code. And then finally, stop looking for heroes and just be one.
Thank you very much, Dave. I think it's been an inspiring and enlightening conversation today. I'm really grateful to you for coming on at the inaugural podcast show today on the moneymasterhq.com show. It's been great having you. And, I think some of the stories that you shared are great. I'm sure our audience will reflect on them and take some of those golden nuggets and tips that you shared, some of those habits, mindset stuff. And just, going through that story that you had and, always just believing in yourself and achieving all what you've achieved in life, despite the story that you had as a kid, it's been incredible. So I'm immensely grateful for you for coming on this show. And thank you very much.
My pleasure. Let's do it again.
Thank you.
When the bills keep piling up and your wallet's feeling light, you're searching for a way to make it all right. Unsure of where to turn or what to do, MoneyMasterHQ.com has got the tools for you. Empower your life with financial success. Through education, expert guidance, we're the best. MoneyMasterHQ.com will show you the way to reach your goals and make your dream. Dive into a world where dreams of wealth align with Money Master HQ. Watch your fortune shine. Cash in on knowledge. Let wisdom be your guide. In the realms of finance, with us you'll stride. $1,000,000 mindset is what we instill at MoneyMasterHQ.com. The financial hill. Empower your journey with wisdom you'll listen. Our mission's clear, just stop and listen. Whoa, from basics to brilliance, our book leads the way. Accounting fundamentals, making finance play. For managers, for dreamers, in numbers we trust. With our guidance, success is a must. Yeah, here's to yours, keep piling up, and your wallet's feeling light. You're searching for a way to make it alright. Unsure of where to turn or what to do. MoneyMasterHQ.com has got its tools for you. Empower your life with financial success. Oh yeah. Through education, expert guidance, we're the best. MoneyMasterHQ.com will show you the way to reach your goals and make your dreams stay